This video will take you through how to use CareAlign as a more advanced problem-based charting tool for documentation. This will help you build an assessment and plan while practicing naming and organizing problems and developing your clinical plans. This workflow is intended as a second phase for medical school education once a student is ready for problem-based charting and is familiar with the basics of CareAlign. Instead of working from the work list view, you will go to the patient's page. You can do this by clicking on the patient's name. On this page, you will see the same summary or one-liner box at the top that you used from the work list view. You will also find the same data and other info section, which if you expand it, you will see the same information that was here on the list. Instead of writing your plan entirely in the one-liner box, you're now going to use the sections you see below for active, resolved, and inactive problems. Part of why we're doing this is because this is really how you're going to be interacting with electronic health records once you're taking care of patients and thinking about how to structure your problem list and organize your plans. Whatever you write in the active section will default into the progress note, with the exception of whatever is written in the miscellaneous section. Whatever is written there will not come into your progress note. You can use this more in the next stage of your course, where you might need to keep track of items for yourself and your colleagues, such as FYIs or situational awareness that you don't want in your note. For example, patient is hard of hearing, please talk loudly. Don't worry about the discharge plan section for right now. So what you want to do is think about what are this patient's active problems and then add them to the section. For this patient, let's start with adding abdominal pain. To do that, click on this blue icon here labeled Add Active Problem. Then, based on what your preceptor has instructed you to do, you'll either simply save abdominal pain as your patient's problem, or you can actually code the specific ICD-10 code with this diagnosis. As you can see, you type in the problem name, and you'll get a drop down with additional options. You can add additional context or specificity here to find the right diagnosis. Once you do that, click Save. Now, within this problem, you have a place to write the plan and the tasks that need to get done. It's the same thing you did in the one-liner section, just with a little bit more detail. You will, of course, want to follow the format that you learn in class, but in general, you want to write a description of what problem your patient is having, why you think it's happening, what's your differential, is there any data to support or eliminate potential items on your differential, and then what's the plan that needs to happen to either work things up further or to treat your patient. As you can see, you can simply type and click enter to move to the next line, just like you would in a Word document. If you prefer to write in a paragraph form, you can write as much as you want, and as you can see, it will make a paragraph. If you'd like to add a separate line within the same item in the plan, all you need to do is type Shift plus Enter at the same time, and it'll create another line within the same item. And then as usual, if you click Enter alone, it will save that item and takes you to the next one. Under tasks, you can include specific things that need to get done. For example, check abdominal CAT scan to look for this particular thing, or follow up with patient after they receive pain medication to see if they've gotten better. Now you can do the same thing for each problem. To add the next one, either click down here to add a problem or up in the right corner of the active problem section. For this video, I'll add another problem called hypertension and then click Save. You can create the plan and tasks just like you did above. When you're done, you can save your plan so that you have this version to come back to and review. You can save it in CareAlign as well as send it as a PDF to your instructor. You may not do this now, but this wiki version of your patient's plan is something you can come back to and build on in the future. If, for example, in your class you're given more history and asked to write the next progress note for this patient, you can simply build off this existing plan by updating it and then save another version of your note. You may do even more complicated things in future classes, like identify items for handoffs and discharge planning, but let's not get too carried away right now. So let's review how to save your plan as a note, which is something you can do for yourself if you're on rotations. You can bring it into your electronic health record, or you can send it to your preceptor. I want to mention quickly that there is a place for you to write the subjective and objective for your note if that's something you need to do for class or that you want to do while on rotation. As you can see, there's a section here called subjective and objective. This is the S and O of your SOAP note. Below is the assessment and plan, or the A and P of your SOAP note. So here you can write the subjective history that your patient tells you and then their exam findings. There are additional dot phrases here you can explore, like dot exam. Once you're done, to create your note, click on the Create Note button. This will bring up the Progress Note Builder. You can choose the SOAP or the APSO format, which basically is a difference of whether you want your subjective and objective first or whether you want your assessment and plan first. Most likely for now, you're going to be asked to use the SOAP format. As you can see, all of the active problems will automatically be selected. You can choose to unselect some of these if for some reason you don't want them in your note. If you have any resolved or chronic issues listed for your patient, those will show here, but they will be unselected by default, which you can add if you like. You can also choose whether you want to include the plan and the tasks, or you might choose to only include one of those. And remember, anything written in the miscellaneous section will not show up in the note. Now you can simply click Generate Note, and it will put everything together into one block of text, which you can now save into CareAlign, or as I said, you can copy and put into your electronic health record progress note. From here, you click Sign and Save. In this menu, you can choose to update the note title, which defaults to progress note, as well as the date of service. I would recommend that you put in the date that you actually saw your standardized patient or the patient that you are rotating on. Then you click Save to CareAlign, and it will save that note into the history section of the application. As I mentioned, you can send this as a PDF to your preceptor or to anybody else at any time by clicking on Save and Share instead of just Save to CareAlign. But in an effort to reduce inbox overload, we're going to skip the email and do everything right from here. Once you've saved your note, you want to add a task to let your preceptor know that it's ready to review. Now, the first time you do this for a patient, we suggest adding a problem under the resolved section of the wiki called feedback. You only have to do that once per standardized patient. Then you can put all of the tasks and feedback related information into this one section so you always know where to find it. And since it's a resolved problem, it won't come into your progress note that you save by default. Once you've typed the word feedback, click anywhere outside that drop-down box and then click Save. In the task section, create a task for your preceptor. We suggest by starting with the shortcut .date, so just write a period and then the word date and click enter. This will autofill today's date. Then you can write, I finished my assessment and plan, please see the history tab, and then tag your preceptor by typing @ and then their name. Click enter to save this. This will now put a task on your preceptor's list as well as email them to let them know that you're ready. Then once they've reviewed your note in the history tab, they can check off this task, which will let you know that they've completed it. And then they can add feedback right here. Now for this, they'll most likely do it in the assessment and plan section instead of the task section. For the preceptors, we recommend that they also use the date shortcut and to tag you so that you'll get an email letting you know that they've added feedback for you to review. Thanks for watching. We look forward to hearing your feedback, and please feel free at any time to use the chat icon in the bottom right corner to ask us questions.